Good morning. It's Wednesday, September 24th. I would like to share some good election news with you from yesterday. I know that we are all rightly concerned about all of the ways that the Republicans are trying to cheat in the 2026 midterms. They are trying to disenfranchise voters. They're trying to suppress the vote. They are trying to gerrymander because they know that if the American people are allowed to express their will at the ballot box, that Republicans are going to lose massively. The only way that oppressive, corrupt regimes like the Trump regime, and remember, all of the Republicans in Congress are in Donald Trump's pocket. They are doing his bidding. They have abandoned their oath to the Constitution and their constituents. So because they have now tied themselves fully with Donald Trump and all of his corruption, all of his oppression, all of the ways that he's wrecking the country, that means that Americans are not just pissed off at Donald Trump, they are pissed off at the Republicans who voted to take away health care from between 14 and 20 million Americans, who voted to close rural hospitals all over this country, who voted to balloon the national debt trillions of dollars and give massive tax breaks to billionaires. Right, every terrible thing that is happening in this country right now, Republicans own it. They own it. They could have at any point in time stopped Donald Trump because he has committed multiple impeachable offenses, and not just Donald Trump, Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance and probably loads of other folks. But Republicans in Congress are abdicating their duty. They are betraying democracy. All of this madness continues because Republicans won't do their fucking jobs. And the American people, we understand that. We understand. This is not just Donald Trump and the Republicans are blameless and are going to win their seats back. No, the polling is really devastating for them. And they know that they cannot win. They cannot continue to hold on to power unless they cheat in the midterms. And so we're seeing all of this rhetoric from Trump and the Republicans that is meant to undermine free and fair elections. Not only that, but Donald Trump wanting to position members of the military in cities, especially in cities that are predominantly Black, Democratic, right? The goal is intimidation and suppressing the vote. So because of that, we see people who are saying like, oh, we're not going to have the 2026 midterms. We're not going to have elections anymore. We are going to have elections. It's just that we have to do everything we possibly can to defend our right to vote, to defend our right to pick our elected representatives who work for us, who don't work for a fascist regime, who don't work for billionaires, who don't work for foreign interests, but who actually represent us, the American people. And every time I hear somebody say, oh, we're not going to have midterms, oh, there's no point in voting, it doesn't matter, everything is rigged. I know there's a lot of polling showing that Americans are pretty cynical about our political system. They believe that politicians in both parties are corrupt. They feel that politicians are going to support billionaires, are going to support foreign interest, are going to support their own interest over the will and what is best for their constituents. And so, I see a lot of people posting online being like, what's the point in voting? Elections don't work. It's hopeless. There's no point in voting. And for me, the best way I know to counter that false narrative, that untruth, is to remind people that there are actually elections happening all of the time in the United States, and Democrats are outperforming in virtually every single one of them. And yesterday we had an election in Arizona, and it's actually of even more import than you might initially think. So yesterday, Arizona's 7th Congressional District had a special election because their congressman passed away in office. So the winner of the Democratic primary for that 7th Congressional District is Adelita Grijalva. She's actually the daughter of the congressman who passed away. And the general election was yesterday. So Adelita Grijalva was running against Republican Daniel Gutierrez, and she won 70.6% to Gutierrez's 27.7%. And you might say, well, Angela, that's expected, right? She was running for her father's seat. It was a Democratic district, and right, that's understandable. Not only was her dad the representative in Congress, but that district also went 22% for Kamala Harris, very blue district. And I've been very critical of the gerontocracy in the Democratic Party. In both houses, Democrats are significantly older than the population that they represent. And the last 8 members of Congress to die in office and leave their chairs vacant for sometimes months and months on end have all been Democrats. And when you are looking at these very slim margins, it really, really matters to have a vacant seat where a Democrat should be voting and isn't. It's a significant impairment, and yet we see time and time again, Democrats are continuing to put forth incumbents for re-election who've sometimes been in their seat for 40 or 50 years. And I've discussed the gerontocracy problem of the Democrats at length in a couple of videos. You can find them, on my longer form platform. So because Arizona's 7th district representative passed away in office, then they didn't have anybody representing them, right, until this special election. And this is why this election is so meaningful. As soon as Representative Grijalva is sworn in, she will become the 218th and clinching supporter of a bipartisan effort to force the disclosure of federal investigative files related to Jeffrey Epstein. That's according to the Politico. We are looking at tiny margins, and one vote can be really significant. And so when you're looking at Democrats continuing to pick folks for re-election who are 75, 80, 90 years old, refusing to step aside and let younger, more progressive voices have their chance at representing the American people, you end up in these situations where you have 3, 4, 5 holes in Congress where Democrats should be casting a vote, where people should have representation, and they don't for often prolonged periods, and it makes a real difference. So I'm very, very excited to hear that democracy is still working. Our elections are still happening. People are still able to cast their vote and get representation. So really good news. An empty seat has been filled. The people of the 7th District of Arizona now have representation in Congress again. And also, it looks like there are enough votes that they will be able to force disclosure of the federal investigation files related to Jeffrey Epstein. So I don't know about you, but I look forward to seeing how that plays out. Also here really quickly at the end, if you are in one of these districts where you have a really entrenched incumbent, aged Democrat who is running for re-election, especially if there's somebody who is prioritizing their own power and also the desires of their corporate donors over their constituents. If you are looking at your district and saying, my entrenched incumbent representative, they don't seem like they're fighting very hard for democracy. They don't seem like they're capable of meeting this moment. They don't seem like they're equipped to do what is demanded of them. Now is the time. Now is the time, y'all, to get involved in your primaries. Now is the time to identify who's running in your district that's progressive, that understands the plight of the working class, that understands what is at risk here, that understands we need an America that works for the people and not for corporations and billionaires. Now is the time to identify who's running in your primaries. How can you get behind them? How can you support their campaign? How can you advocate for them? Talk them up on your social media. And, if you live in a district where there isn't anybody like that, maybe the person who needs to be running is you. Maybe this is your time to step forward and say, I'm ready to fight for American democracy. I am ready to represent the people of my community. And I understand the assignment and I'm willing to take it up. If that's you, I suggest that you go to runforsomething.net. They have all kinds of resources for people who've never run for office before and don't have wealthy corporate donors backing them, that aren't backed by dark money, foreign money. Democracy is still working, and it's frustrating that we are facing 2 significant battles going into the election season, right? It is the American people versus the fascist Republican Party and Donald Trump, absolutely. But also it is a fight within the Democratic Party because we have an entrenched 2-party system. So there is a chance here, an opportunity here for the corporate Democrats, the Hakeem Jeffries and the Chuck Schumers and their ilk, who don't understand what is required, who are failing all of us in this moment, who are acting like it's 1985 politics instead of 2025. We have a chance to primary those guys and get them out. We have a chance to reform the party. We have a chance for a Tea Party style takeover of the Democratic Party. Where are the Zoran Mamdanis? Where are the Omar Fattahs? Because damn y'all, those are the folks, those are the candidates that are going to command wide public support, and also are willing to stand up against the regime, also are willing to do what it takes to defend democracy. So be thinking about that. Democracy still works. We did have a win yesterday, but we need to look at the bigger picture. Get involved in your local primaries. Don't wait for the general election to decide that you're going to get involved in helping save democracy.